Content warning. This podcast is intended for a mature audience. Contains graphic descriptions of violence and explicit language.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Pods of the Multiverse. We're an unofficial D&D podcast where four friends play D&D. We're so glad to have you back at the table for Game 7 of our 5th season. I'm Andy, the DM for our adventures in the world of Theros, and with me are my three best friends.
Only 3 this time?
I think so. I'm Jimmy. I play Gron, the Minotaur Barbarian, who still considers Ikaros, Karor, and Dust to be his friends, even after last week's, light betrayal.
Wow, funny you say that, because I'm Geppi, and I play Klyx, who after 18 episodes of this shit, still is not really good at making friends.
And I'm Scala. I play Paravex, human heretic, who had a meteor fall on them and is doing just fine, so get on my level, dinosaurs.
You think there are dinosaur fossils on Theros?
No. And with that, let's get into it. A quick recap. The company of the living and the dead heroes fought their way down the Stadium of Dishonor into the pit, where they confronted the Archon of Falling Stars, the Scourge of Stars. During the combat, Ikaros began to remember why he was sent to the underworld under orders from Heliod, to keep the secret of the Archon's location hidden from any who would come to find it. After a grueling fight and the glorious final death of the Archon, the dead heroes turned on the living, and in a last-ditch effort to claim glory in their afterlives, tried to take the Archon's remembrance for themselves. The living heroes prevailed, escaped, and now make for Tizeris, following a falling star in the strange underworld sky. So, the demon, which bade you congratulations, offered you a flight on his huge creature-size form toward the falling star over the sky of Tizeris. Along the way, he has introduced himself as Agademos, and he is a huge demon. At first glance, he almost looks like he may have been something resembling a centaur at one point, but now incredibly overgrown and grotesque. He continues on as you ride on his back.
I was a hero once. I remember the first Heroan games, the victories, then the cheating. That's when I met Radanos. What a force! In his days of glory, he could topple mountains and rend the stars from the very heavens to smite the realms of men.
He couldn't topple us.
This was but a fraction, all that remained of his power. After the gods stripped him of his former glory.
So, what do you think any of that has to do with Tizeris and the star we're seeing?
That star,
He gestures with the front half of his form.
with his last strength on the surface, he held back that star for the time of his final death. I know not what it could foretell, but I know the Archons may very well yet have the last laugh.
What do you remember of the Archons? Did you know one by the name Tefranos?
As he is carrying you along in the sky, he shudders at the mention of that name.
I remember that name well. Yes, the Ashen Rider. Terrible was her power, but like Radanos, she fell at the hands of the gods' allegiance.
Klyx will look at Paravex and Gron. Our god and that Archon were formidable, but Tizeris is a damned place. Possibly much worse than where we just came from. We'll need to rest after we land. We're too weak for it. It'll consume us.
What's the deal with Tizeris? Like, what's its whole vibe?
Yeah, so the three of you...
The word vibe to describe Tizarus is hilarious.
Rancid is the vibe.
It's bad.
The three of you go ahead and give me a history or arcana check.
19.
15.
Well, pretend like Klyx didn't know as much as you just now, because I rolled an 8.
Okay. Tizarus is known as the deepest ward of the underworld. It is the final punishment of murderers and those who committed unforgivable offenses against the gods themselves. Generally, it is thought to be gloomy, miserable, filled with ruins of titanic architecture over a wasteland of black rock and mire. And it is also known on those rolls to be where Erebos' Palace of the Dead is located.
It is the domain that Erebos has claimed for himself. The blackest, foulest pit in this wasteland of pits.
Well said. And it is a far journey, mortals. We shall rest there.
And he points down.
Your mortal forms must be tired from your contests of combat. Rest you must if you wish to face Tizarus and continue to live.
And as he says this, he flies down towards a tall column of stone, standing alone amidst the blasted landscape. This massive column, several stories high, isolated from the otherwise sparse terrain, with fragments of other ruined columns at its base. Everybody go ahead and give me a perception check.
19.
17.
2.
Okay. Gron and Paravex, you would immediately notice that this column is sitting precariously on a enormous cliffside that stretches down into thick black fog, seemingly an entrance to Tizarus itself. This demon lands on the top of this column, and it is fairly large. You would think a well enough place to make an adequate camp.
Take your mortal rest. We will continue once you are prepared.
As Klyx starts to set up camp with the party, he would just say, "And why are you helping us again?"
Give me a persuasion check.
That is 13.
Okay. He sort of makes a twisted face beneath his curling horns.
Consider it a debt to the Archon. Power for power in another life.
I see. Is this the fate of all who exchange power thus?
I wouldn't know of any others who share my fate. I used to be a great athlete, a killer. I sought power from greed, and in my afterlife, this was the form I was given. But in great battles of the ancient age, we were allies. Once.
Well, it is good to know that you retain some small measure of your heroic virtue, even in your diminished state.
Diminished! Diminished! Look at me!
And he unfurls his tremendous demonic wings.
No. Cursed, perhaps. And make no mistake, I can smell the gold in your company, but my powers, my twisted mind such as it is, no, my oath keeps me from killing you where you stand. But once that task complete, perhaps you join me. back at the stadium, and we will see what happens then.
We'll be sure to be very well rested for that, friend. Thanks again for the passage.
Rest now.
And he flies off and begins circling this column.
No watches? You just sleep?
It appears so, unless you would like to roll insight.
I've learned from the best, Andy. I'm always going to roll insight when asked. A 19 on the dice with a 0 mod.
Okay. He is circling around this column below you, and save for that, the vast view of your surrounding areas, both Agonus above and Tizerus below, it would appear like you are alone.
Okay. Might be the only chance we get to really rest, free of any burdens or watches. Do we want to indulge?
What do you mean?
Gron, when's the last time we did one of these and didn't have to stay up and each do a watch?
Never, right?
Wouldn't it be nice? I'm getting some shut-eye, friend.
Enjoy that.
Listen, I do not know what this falling star portends. I do not know what will await us in Tizerus, but I ask a favor of you, as companions. That place is reserved for those who did great offense to the gods. I have no doubt my teacher, Erebos, will be there. Please keep sharp eyes for him. He was the greatest of us. He does not deserve eternal torment at Erebos' hands.
Gron nods slowly, contemplating eternal torment.
I think what you ask is reasonable, but I have a question for you, Paravex. Did it feel good to deceive that disciple of Farrakha?
I did not deceive him. I asked him a question and let him make his own choice.
And these followers of the gods, which say you to their ability to make choices? Do you believe them easily deceived?
No. The power of the gods is visible in every facet of our lives. It would take a remarkable act of cynicism to question the nature of their divinity. But Erebos was a remarkable cynic, and the logic following his cynicism proved true.
I'm a Leonin, the first to admit the cynicism is more than justified. I'm sure we've all laughed at the irony of devotee of Thassa, whose lungs fill with water, but I've gotten the impression from you that you think lesser of me and others like me because of our beliefs. And if I'm going to help this Erebos, I don't want to be deceived. It's something I'm very good at, but not something I accept from others, least of all those I help.
I do not think less of you, and yet I believe at the same time that there is a truth that you should be educated of. If you are not accepted from me, beg the answer of Klyx. Surely the god of knowledge will tell you what is really beyond the horizon.
Or he won't. And that's the difference between me and the people who give you cause for cynicism. I don't take it on blind faith that Klyx gives me every answer I could possibly have or ask for. I don't sit and trust that Karametra will make sure every fruit I ever harvest doesn't rot. Some people do, and they're fools. But I'm not that person. I want to make sure you know that.
I respect the logic you have taken the time to consider before arriving at your choice. But I would suggest to you that the nature of the gods is bigger than you. You may choose to live in ignorance, but there are others who do not know they have such a choice, and to them you facilitate the perpetuation of falsehood.
Even if that were true, then I think this means something coming from a follower of Klyx. I think a little falsehood is worth it if we can do good in this world. And I had a friend who was an annoyingly blind follower of Klothys, and they did great things, and it was worth it. I just hope you recognize that. I hope your Erebos isn't so short-sighted. You and them will have my aid, but I just ask you open your mind, even if a little bit.
I have lived a very long time without a home, without companions I could share my thoughts with. Only old teachings rattling around inside my mind. But I do remember what it was like to challenge my beliefs, and I will not stop examining my own conclusions.
I think that's something we can both agree on. I think something we can all agree on. It's really fucking hard living with the gods.
Tell me about it. Gron looks up briefly from sharpening his axe.
Klyx starts to settle down.
I'm gonna take a look at this remembrance here.
Okay.
What does it look like, remind me? Does it look like that star?
At passing glance, it kind of does. It appears like a very dense, glowing sphere. Not quite solid like a crystal ball, but semi-solid and radiating with energy as if fragments of one's soul or one's power still remained within. Go ahead and roll Arcana.
16.
Okay. The way this radiating energy looks, it's pretty familiar to a trained eye. This looks like the essence of Nyx. It's sort of a gas, but it's sort of a light. It's this odd, strange aura that you can affect with your hand, and it changes and moves. At times, there look like tiny stars within, and other times, there look like figures moving about. As you keep looking at this, follow that Arcana check up with either history or insight.
It's a 15 history.
Okay. You can see swirling in this strange mist glimpses, flashes of scenes of these figures playing out.
All right.
Archons fighting against gods. One huge, riding a winged bull you would recognize as the Archon of Falling Stars. One savage and unyielding in combat. A feminine figure with a large silver-plumed helm with an enormous curved greatsword riding a winged saber-tooth lion. And a third, a curling horned helm and a enormous spear that stretches up towards the sky, riding a brilliant Pegasus. One more roll. Go ahead and make it either of the three, Arcana, Insight, or History, and I'll give you advantage for 2 successes already.
All right. That's an at 20. That's going to be a 25.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Your focus on these scenes becomes clearer, and almost as if this remembrance were trying to convey its own history to you.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't done ripping off Elden Ring. I mean, come on.
Give me the good shit, Andy. Give me the good shit.
You see the one mounted on the Pegasus betraying the other two in combat and siding with the god of the sun standing, wings unfurled at his side. You see, if it weren't for this betrayal, these 3 mighty Archons could have very well won against the sun god, but it was not destined to be on that day. You see an accord made between the god of the sun and the god of the dead, that the most powerful shall be imprisoned by the combination of their power.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
In addition to this, you can tell that there is a physical aspect to this remembrance that can be unlocked, that can be wielded, but you have yet to understand what that is.
Okay, let me know when I do.
Okay.
Otherwise, Paravex is gonna sleep.
Is there anything Klyx or Gron do before they take their rest?
Klyx notices Paravex staring into the remembrance and definitely plans to ask them a bit about it, but after this last exchange, thinks might be best to wait.
Gron's going to try to get comfortable here. A little troubled, though. A little unsettled. Images of Hargot flash through his mind. This horrible undead Hargot that he felled again. And he thinks of Mogus, as always. He's always thinking of Mogus.
Okay. Perhaps while still sharpening your axe or making your makeshift camp, all of these thoughts going through your mind, you look up another time towards this blasted red sky, and you can't help but feel a returning pull, one that you've felt now and again, and from time to time, after a great victory or overcoming insurmountable odds. Gron, go ahead and give me a religion check with advantage.
Tempt of fate with this one again. Let's see what happens. See, this is what happens. Seriously, it's a 4.
Oh no.
With advantage?
Rolled a 2 and a 4. Add 0.
Okay. Jesus. You can feel this sensation of courage, of overcoming great challenge. But as you look up, that is immediately overshadowed by his laughter.
I know your heart, Gron. You cannot resist your fate. You are a killer, hero, or not.
And as this voice subsides, you regain 5 piety with Mogus, your branding smite boon returning to you.
Every time I get out, they pull me back in.
He's right. That little glimpse of, what was it you said? Was it victory?
Or just like the feeling of overcoming great challenge.
Yeah, that to Gron feels like the slightest suggestion, very far away, of Califex. That is how Gron would interact with that specific feeling.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to roll a better religion check, and we'll see how many more episodes that takes.
Or seasons.
Yeah.
Or something else could happen.
Yeah, so Gron, at this point, starts to think that maybe he is only good for killing. He's a convenient tool for whatever greater machinations he's not aware of. And these thoughts churn in his mind as he lies here, restless.
All right. The 3 of you begin your rest. Gron, you are pulled awake violently, but you are not on the top of this pillar in this camp in the underworld. You awake in your chambers in the Colophon in Akros. Your violent awakening to seemingly peace. Preparation. Califex in a nearby chamber, preparing to take his vows as steward of Akros and marry Tyrannica. His ceremonial bronze and red armor glistening in the sun as he moves to stand at his balcony, a look of courage on his face as he looks toward the crowds gathering in the courtyards around the citadel. What do you do?
I'm going to try to get my bearings here. Am I awake?
You are awake.
I want to look around the room. How did I get here?
Give me a perception check.
10.
Everything appears to be just the way you left it before you departed from Elitis. In fact, it almost looks like you never left.
I'm going to go find Califex.
Okay.
That's fucking teddy bear vibes. That's just Gron's safety teddy bear. I don't know what's going on. Where's Califex?
You approach Califex. No, you're awake.
Yeah, I overslept. You look good, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, apparently you did. You should hurry up and prepare. I'm glad you agreed to stand by my side this morning. Really, it's quite a big day for all of Akros, I suppose.
Gron just stands there vacantly for a second. This is going to sound strange. What did we do yesterday?
That is quite strange. Why, the same thing we've been doing for the past few weeks. Training in the yard and hearing the day-to-day from the Akroan god captains and sitting in on council meetings with the regent and receiving the oracle's messages and omens. Gron, you're acting strange.
Well, probably wouldn't remember much of that ordinarily anyway.
Fair point, brother.
Did I? Gron puts his hand to his head. When did I get back from Melitus?
He looks at you oddly for a moment, a look you don't recognize immediately. Melitus? Why, you've never journeyed to Melitus. Not that I'm aware of.
What? Then it must have been a dream. Gron's gonna put his hand on Califex's shoulder.
Okay.
It's just normal? That just happens like a normal thing?
It just happens.
Alright, Gron's gonna go through the motions for as long as this makes sense.
Okay. You prepare, you don your ceremonial armor, your beaming red cloak, the same one that was awarded to you after the triumph at the Siege of Akros. And before you know it, the ceremony begins. You are standing at the bottom of the towering steps of the citadel, Califex at your side, and Polymede a few steps above you, in dazzling ceremonial robes of red and blue, embroidery of lightning around her dress, begins reciting, "We are gathered here in the sight of the gods above, to witness the union of these children of Akros. Heliod, may you bless their sacred bond. Perforos, fill their hearts with fire. Erebos, give them courage. Keranos, grant them wisdom. And as she continues with the rites, the sky begins to swirl above this scene. Gron, please make a wisdom saving throw.
All right. It's an 18.
Okay. On an 18, Gron, you can immediately tell this is not right, as from the swirling sky above, the visage of Klothys appears, surrounded by a deep, red aura of starlight and fire. Gron, what's going on? Panic erupts in the crowd. What do?
Do you see that?
Of course! Pointing up to this appearance.
Gron doesn't entirely know what to do in this situation, but would probably tend towards feeling like an omen of Klothys is not an entirely destructive thing right here in this moment.
Go ahead and roll me insight with advantage.
Okay. Ooh, that's pretty good. That is a 20.
Okay. In all of your experience, that would be perfectly reasonable to think. But there is something about this scene that is not right, that is not true. This visage of Klothys, wrathful. You've seen this side of this god before, but the very sky itself seems to be boiling over with her sudden appearance.
Where is Polymede and where is Tyrannica?
You look around. You see Polymede has begun to try to calm the panic that has erupted in the crowd. But go ahead and give me a perception check.
That's only a 9.
Okay. You don't see Tyrannica anywhere. Gron, what should we do?
We need to get to safety. Find Tyrannica.
You begin moving, and the voice of Klothys erupts as she speaks. Mortals of Akros, you have defied your fate for long enough. You have refused the call of destiny. Your queen has not abandoned you, but you have forsaken her for this. False Heliod has sealed your fate, and this Polis's punishment is nigh. As you begin fleeing with Califax, I need you to make another wisdom save, and this can be with advantage given the previous streak of rolls.
Great. That is 26.
Okay. On a 26, you are looking around for Tyrannica. You have Califax by the arm as Klothys strikes the citadel with her mighty spear, and almost as if being flung from an explosion, you are able to pull Califax with you as this entire scene is destroyed in an instant. Klyx.
Yeah, that's okay, yeah.
You awake to find yourself walking the halls of the Observatory of Meletis. The Chosen of Krufix, Kaidali, walking beside you. You are in more danger than you know. Atris's death has not gone unnoticed. A wicked soul, yes, but an oracle nonetheless. Phoenix will not forgive this. What do you do?
Like Gron, this is not a memory. This feels like the present tense, correct?
This feels like you were just asleep and now you are here.
Sure, but we killed Atris twice. When did I arrive here?
Why, just after your... She stutters for a moment. Journey to the amphitheater, of course.
No, that's wrong. We went below. We killed Atris again. Where's Gron? Did he return with me?
Ah, that's right. You were just telling of your travel to Erebos. Forgive me. I have so many things on my mind these days. Gron, I haven't seen him since you arrived.
Is there something you need from me? I need to find my friend.
Oh, Klyx. Our god has seen the coming and going of many things from the face of this world, but the knowledge is so much harder to wash away. You have already seen so many secrets the underworld hides. Klyx, give me a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom and intelligence are similar. You sure you don't mean intelligence? Because I have proficiency in that one.
I say nothing and ask for a wisdom saving throw.
Great. It's a 9.
Okay. You know that is just a fraction of what the gods hide from us. You see she takes her hands, which she always has covering her eyes, and lunges towards you. Her face not that of a young woman, but of disfigured, vacant, returned, maskless, and alien. You are restrained in this moment as you see shadows of figures begin surrounding the two of you in these hallways. What do you do?
I use Daunting Roar. Get these fuckers away from me.
All right.
I don't know how you want to do that. It's a wisdom save.
Sure. Is that one or all?
Anyone within 10 feet of me in any direction, I choose them. I choose them all. Get away from me.
Okay. Oh, that's fitting. You see that this figure of Kaidali lurches back as you roar, and the 3 other figures, one, that of Lyukar, stammers back into the shadows as well. Another of Atris, the real Atris, staggering into another shadowy corner. But the third, stepping out of the shadows, brilliantly masked, clad in gray light of Nyx, Phoenix speaks.
Oh, Klyx, you were warned, and yet you continue to defy me.
Please repeat that wisdom saving throw.
I'll defy you until I see you in Tizarus. As I roll a 20.
Whoo!
Fucking cool. You see he stretches out a hand to force you to the ground, but somehow you are able to overcome this godly power. Behind you, down the hallway, you begin to see a shining light beyond the horizon of your view.
He will never tell you everything, Klyx.
I don't need him to, and it's still better than anything you ever told me. Lies. At least now I can seek my own truth. You want me to roll a 20 again? I'm just kidding. As your hands are up ready to do another Phoenix voice, I love it.
This light begins surrounding this scene as Phoenix coils back into the shadows.
So be it, fate thief.
As we go to Paravex.
Everybody gets one.
All right.
You awake in the same makeshift camp that you found your rest. Just as you left it, your allies still asleep, the same falling star still in the distance. What do you do?
I try to rouse my allies, I suppose. If I've woken up, I'm going to assume it's relative morning.
You go to move towards your allies, and you immediately feel something pulling at you. Paravex, diving headfirst, go ahead and roll a wisdom save.
You got it. 18.
Okay. As you reach out, your gaze meets the falling star in the distance. As you look towards it, only for a moment, suddenly, your vision races towards it as if it is the only thing you see, the only thing you know, as if it is right in front of you. And suddenly you feel the same intense feeling as you have the last time your patron spoke to you.
Soon.
But this communication is interrupted. Just missing this save. You hear another voice as the corners of your vision are encroached by shadowy tendrils. The raspy, otherworldly voice enters your mind as if from everywhere and nowhere all at once.
Well, well, well. At last we meet. You have made remarkable allies out of those two. Heroes of Akros. But will they really allow you to finish your little anti-heroic journey?
What are you? Another Archon?
So single-minded. So hell's bent. Yes, I can see why that patron of yours chose you. No, I wouldn't dare presume.
Make me a persuasion check.
Okay. Persuasion is 22.
In front of this staggering falling star, as it has taken form in your view, you see coalesce out of shadow a horned, thin figure with a vacant face.
Yeah, all right.
Black claws unfurling as they play with the shadows that surround them.
Allow me to introduce myself proper, as one scholar to another. I am Ashiok, and it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Paravex.
Why have you brought me here? What do you want from me?
Give me another persuasion check.
Oh, that's better. 25.
Straight to the point. I admire that. I've come to make you a deal that even the god of the dead won't make you. Make no mistake, I want you to succeed.
They point with both hands outstretched towards you.
Oh, you action fanatic. So that when the time comes for their gods,
They separate both their hands, pointing towards Gron and Klyx, respectively.
to cry destiny and come for me, my experience, my desires, my art, I want you to ignore that call. You don't even have to turn against your newfound friends. Simply join your hate-filled Archon, that is what you wish, and leave the Underworld. What do you say?
Can I roll insight? I'm not good at it, but can I roll it?
You can roll whatever you want in this moment. Go ahead.
Paravex only rolled a 6 insight.
Okay. Before I resolve this, I want to inform it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so as this conversation is taking place, I would like Paravex to roll history.
It wasn't a great roll, just a 12.
All right. Taking these two rolls together, the history first, Paravex does know a little bit about the Nightmare Muse, Ashiok, the ghost stories that have permeated Meletis and the surrounding regions about them. That being said, with the insight, all you can guess at is they definitely have something worth confronting you that they don't want you involved in. That is all you can guess.
Paravex sits down in the dirt of this column and just stares up at the falling star for a long time.
I do not know you, nor do I know your designs, but I do not rage against the heavens without purpose. I stand for truth as the greatest and only virtue. So what truth would it serve to strike down the gods of Nyx and let the world fall under some false shadow?
Paravex, give me another wisdom save.
Same 18.
With a heavy sigh, they turn towards the same falling star that you have been looking towards.
Then consider this a warning. One I will not extend to their
Gesturing back to Gron and Klyx again, back turned this time.
little destiny-filled friend, should their god keep looking for me. Oh, how little they have told you about the godly oracle or the godly relic they wield in their blind sense.
They then take one hand and point towards the falling star, twirling the shadows around their arm.
Imagine what kind of power that a weapon like that could be in the hands of a heretic like you. One does wonder. Ah, yes, well, I have been wondering the very same, one might say. This world has a marvelous way of remembering its history. Such a radiant canvas, teeming with such potential.
The star begins to fall apart in the sky.
No!
Why, There are so many weapons capable of wounding gods, even killing them. You know the history, heretic.
The star continues to fall apart as you shout out. Give me one more attempt at this wisdom save.
Lower. 16.
Let's just say you have your designs, and I have mine.
And as they crush their hand, the star shatters, and you are rent from this scene. Andromedy.
Fuck. Okay.
You have been spending the last several months dutifully tending to the mending of the barrier to the Titan's prison deep within the wastes of Agonis. You have had the aid of your gods, wardens of the chained, and together with them have partially restored this ruined shrine to Clothis as her base of operations here in the underworld. Sometime after you began this endeavor, you received into your company 2 emissaries of Erebos. Jimmy and Geppi,
It's us.
please introduce your characters.
What the fuck is this?
Got him!
Oh, hell yeah.
I've been gotten.
You've been gotten.
Gotten. I just happen to have this extra character kicking around here that I just happen to...
Yeah, same. Just
Oh,
kicking
man!
around.
Oh, that's great, you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Sure thing.
You caught me at a good time. I just had one in the chamber.
So, Distheus is a Triton with dark blue skin, tendril-like fins all over his body that stream and entangle with a massive seaweed. There's a thin fog that always lingers around him, and it reflects in his glassy, empty eyes. He wears a long, dark, billowing cloak, and his whole demeanor is fog-like.
On the other side of Andromeda, you'd see a human paladin standing just under 6 feet tall, named Estrella.
Motherfucker!
She has long blonde hair draped over each side, left and right shoulder, with a long, thick, singular braid running down the back that ends halfway on her back. She's adorned with blue and gold chainmail armor, with a small metal shield and a pretty run-of-the-mill longsword. She has a stern look about her, someone who takes her post very seriously. But also underneath that, you'd see someone who is hiding a good deal of pain from a recent betrayal.
These 2 emissaries, as you have come to know them, are not just here to aid you, Andromedy, in the completion of your task. You know that their coming means that the God of the Dead has noticed this little operation of the God of Destiny. And one day, you see an omen amidst the modest courtyard of this shrine, a black cloud animating a golden idol who raises both arms towards the swirling sky of Agonis as you watch, then whose golden silk in hands begin to strangle their own neck, dragging it to its knees before breaking into pieces, smoke vanishing in a swirl.
What could that mean, I wonder? Should I roll something, perhaps?
Andromedy, please roll religion.
Nat 20, 27.
Andromeda's back.
Andromeda's back. Okay. You would immediately recognize this to be an omen from Erebos. A rather grave one at that. And the figure, although whoever it was of long lost to the age of this shrine, was certainly an idol of the tenets of fate. And seeing its destruction in this black cloud comes as a dire warning. And on a nat 20, I was saving this for another scene, but on a fucking nat 20, I am just gonna give it to you. You think this over as you stare down at this ruined idol, and you hear a voice behind you.
I've heard about you, Destiny Spinner.
I have not heard about you. I am Andromedy. Well, you know that already. And who are you?
You turn around as you are saying this, and you recognize immediately this figure. Not towering in the heavens or colossally bearing over one polis or another, but standing at human-like size, a gaunt figure, almost skeletal, cloaked in a long, shadowy black robe with two glistening horns of gold, their eyes black like empty pits.
Andromeda immediately kneels. My most gracious host, I received your rather unnerving portent, and I must ask, is there friction between you and my lady? You have always had, I believe, a agreeable arrangement to house these unspeakable forces in this corner of your domain, and I have done my best to ensure that the seal is well kept.
Such devotion to furious Clothis is compelling. Tell me, you've been here long enough. You must think your god has abandoned you down here. No?
Never.
Well then, how about filling me in on what your plan is to do once your little sewing project is complete?
And as he says this form of the god of the dead gestures to the scene around you, and as he does, you can see, like black starlight, the glistening of Nyx beneath his cloak.
I will do as Clothis requires of me, as any oracle would.
Clever. A fine answer. But the way I see it, little destiny spinner, you're in my underworld now. It would be awfully difficult to serve your god if you can't find yourself capable of leaving.
It would, wouldn't it? But, Lord of the Dead, my lady has never been patient with those who frivolously interfere in her designs.
I like your style. And that does give me an idea. How about a deal? I've got just the thing.
I am in your underworld, Lord Erebos. Propose away.
That you are.
And as he says that, from his form and stretching outward, the shadows of this space all grow in size until they're nearly covering the entire architecture of this shrine.
I've got something I've had my eyes on for some time. And so, one soul for another. Simple enough. He used to belong to me, you see. After trading his life for a woman's he fancied.
Fuck.
It's a rather common occurrence down here. But now she's become a martyr and he a villain. Well, we can't have that. What do you say? It would be like destiny.
If a soul was consigned to your care, it should remain there. This was the arrangement. I shall consult the threads, but I think we have an agreement.
Wonderful.
He takes both his hands and clasps them together, then outstretching both of them, reveals a fragment of a golden whip, braided just so.
You already have some help in this little affair. They'll do whatever you ask. But when you find him, and you'll know him when you see him, won't you give him this?
And he hands you this small thread.
Yeah, I take it as you wish, Lord Erebos.
The pleasure is mine.
And he vanishes in a cloud of black smoke.
Shout out to Andy for taking Erebos lines while sipping tea.
I have
nice
to. Listen, I called Pat Page's agent, but he was too busy with Hadestown, so...
It's just like, the voice of Erebos has the vibe of someone in a robe drinking tea. It was perfect.
Yeah.
So, let me get these two goobers involved.
We were there when this happened, right? The two of us.
You can be if you want to be.
So Estrella, continuing to look forward, not making eye contact with you, Andromeda, would just say, "A smirk from the god of death. You truly are a special oracle."
Oh, you needn't flatter me like that. Do you know the person of whom he speaks? A soul that belonged to him, now turned a villain? A returned, perhaps?
DM, what would I roll for such knowledge?
Estrella, go ahead and roll a history check, and as an agent of the underworld, you can make this with advantage.
Thank holy shit, because it was a 1. What a fucking turnaround. That's a 19.
Hell yeah. It wouldn't take you long to parse out the details, as vague as they were, who Erebos might be talking about. Not so long ago, a very heroic figure, a rather famous figure named Daxos, died by rather sad occurrences. And after his death, he also made a deal with Erebos that he would remain in the underworld in his service as long as the life of the woman he loved was spared. That woman, however, went on to be killed by a godly weapon, and in her death, she traded her life back for Daxos's. Erebos, though, being the clever dealmaker that he is, instead of restoring Daxos to life, sent him off as a returned.
Okay. Erebos speaks of just one more champion in the noise of Theros by the name of Daxos.
Daxos? That is not just one more champion. Daxos of Meletis was an icon among oracles. It was said that all the gods sought to speak through him, so clear was his portentous insight.
Estrella scoffs at first, and then nods her head. "You are right, Oracle. You are right."
Well then, we certainly have our work cut out for us. Distheus,
Yes?
perhaps you have some knowledge where we might start looking.
Might I have knowledge like that?
Go ahead and roll history with advantage.
All right. Maybe. It's a 14.
Okay. Andromeda had just mentioned that Daxos was from Meletis, and following that line of thinking, as well as your own history as someone of the sea, quite literally, you would think that as a returned, he might seek out places familiar to him, clinging to whatever flashing memories or instincts of their past life they once had.
Perhaps in a place known to him from his mortal life. The returned wander aimlessly, those places they knew in life.
Well then, the observatory at Meletis might be the first place to begin our search.
But how, when we're bound here?
We are on Erebos' business. I presume the Lord of the Dead will give us leave to depart his realm.
Well, wait a minute, Oracle. My god of passage should have some say in this.
Indeed he should. And when we arrive at the Tartix, we shall make our mission clear to him.
The push and pull of the underworld continues.
What do we know about why Erebos has placed us?
You and Estrella have been here probably for a little while now. You would have received first a summons to the Palace of the Dead from whatever work you had been tending to in the underworld for something of a reassignment. Standard procedure for agents of the underworld, such as yourself. But unlike most assignments, which are very clear, go catch this returned, go slay this demon, go tend to these woe striders trying to break out of the mire of punishment, these orders were a lot more vague. Attend to Clothes's oracle in Agonis. As allies of the Order of Destiny, servants of the underworld shall assist where needed.
Okay. And as someone who's been dead for a while, probably have not heard of Clothis until arriving.
Likely the opposite, actually.
Oh, that makes sense, actually.
Depending on how old Distheus actually is.
Well, that's up to you.
That's up to you. It's your PC. Oh, no, actually, given your backstory, it depends canonically on a very specific event.
That's right.
Oh, shit.
Let me see.
Were you from a lantern?
Yes.
Nice!
Actually, it's one of the earliest known events in the canon, so...
I see.
Given your background, you would actually have heard of Clothis from time to time before.
Okay.
At least as a fairly enigmatic figure, but you would know the gist of how she volunteered to stay in the underworld to keep the Titans locked in their prison. That would be the old history that a lot of the older souls in the underworld would remember.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been kicking around the underworld for a while, kind of fuming, still angry at Heliod. I don't fully accept the fate of Olanton, and so hearing that I've been reassigned to something in Clothis's orbit fills me with a long-forgotten feeling. Feels something like hope.
Very cool.
Let us delay no longer. I don't mean to presume, but I presume you have no affairs to put in order, what with being dead and all.
None that don't fall under your watch.
None to speak of.
Right. I will let some of my lieutenant wardens know where I'm going and what's going on.
Of course.
Keep the seal, as you would if I were present. Clothis will be done, and off we go.
Okay.
When must you return to this place?
When fate demands it. Hopefully after our task is complete.
I had understood you must stay for the maintenance of the seal.
I have poured a great deal of Clothis's power into the seal, woven it tight. It should hold for a brief while without my maintenance.
Good enough for me. Distheus nods resolutely.
So expediency.
Of the utmost essence.
Very well. Let us leave, and I'll do what I can to protect you. By my shield. Worst case, I die in Melitus.
That is such a good joke that no one listening to this will get.
Yeah, we'll ever know.
Incredibly deep
God.
cut.
That's going to go in a table talk somewhere.
Obviously, we're going to talk about this in Table Talk. Yeah, hashtag Patreon and all that shit. Yeah.
Okay. The three of you depart the Shrine of Clothis and make for the surface. Accompanied by agents of the underworld, the travel through this desolate hellscape to Andromedy you find rather easygoing. There is a sense of purpose as your party moves, and soon enough, the three of you happen upon a winding road through this barren land. Everybody go ahead and roll me a survival check.
Not terrible.
Terrible. 6.
That's an unnatural 20.
Buy my shield in 18.
By my shield.
How much do you want for the shield?
I don't know what to say.
Sorry.
No, it's great.
As the three of you travel, you can hear the shouting of battles in the distance and all manner of bloodshed and violence taking place in the landscape around you. And yet, as if by fate, on that group survival check, you are not impaired in any way. You continue along this path. Andromedy, I would like for you to please roll a d6.
You got it. That's a 1.
Oh, this is so fitting. As you are traveling along this road, you have a incredible moment of deja vu, as if you have traveled this very road before you, with Gron and Klyx at your side, heading in the other direction. It's as if you know this place, as if you've had this experience before. And just as quickly as this sensation washes over you, it disappears.
You see Andromedy crack a bit of a smile. How strange. This winding path was like the one we took through the Kragmaw to get here. It seemed to bend in just the same ways. As above, so below, they say.
We? Who do you mean by we?
The companions that Klothys chose for me. And my friends. Gron, a fierce protector with a gentle heart, and Klyx.
A real piece of shit.
Real asshole.
And Tommy is trying to find the most diplomatic way possible to say just that. An aimless thief who Klothys saw needed a purpose.
They sound like quite the companions. Competition for me to do better. Estrella hoists her sword and shield a little bit closer to her chest and continues on.
Disthius rolls his eyes at that.
I mean, this is an eye-rollable character.
Yeah.
Of course.
Geppi and edgelords? What?
I know nothing else. Right? This is the first edgelord I ever made.
Oh man, full circle. All right, the three of you continue for what feels like hours and then days, but it could have only been a few minutes. It's very hard to say. The landscape seems to be completely void of any landmarks, yet filled with ruins simultaneously, until you come to a point where, from your view on this rather rocky terrain, you see a sweeping, barren lowland, and in the far distance, open water.
Would I recognize what body of water this is?
Everybody go ahead and make a perception check.
That is an 18.
Only an 8 here?
It's a 20, but it needs a bath. If you catch what I mean.
Well, a bath it's about to get, because this is not just a... No, that joke is terrible.
No, phenomenal.
I hate it
I love
already.
that you did it.
Oh my god.
It's so good.
Great.
It's so bad.
It's so good.
All right.
Let it wash over you.
Okay. This is not just another arm of the Tartix, the rivers that ring the world, but this appears to be a bank of Nirano itself, the resting place of those who die at sea or come under the misfortune of the god of the seas herself.
Dreadful place.
And Disthius, as you look out over this scene, your party having now recognized it as Nirano, you are immediately taken back to your original arrival there as someone who died beneath the sea.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of flash back. It's been a really long time, but that feeling of the intense betrayal at the hands of Heliod and feeling conflicted that Thassa stood idly by and didn't intervene, nor did any of the other gods, as if this was what was supposed to happen.
Awesome. Let's have one more round of survival checks as you continue.
11.
14.
3.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, if it matters, and it might. It's a dirty 3 from a natural 1.
Oh, good.
It's like when you tell the teacher that they forgot to assign homework. Like, I could have just not told you that part.
All right, you approach the shore, and as you get a better look at this scene, it is almost as if there is a stretch of this inky, dark water that you would recognize as the Tartix, and then further out it turns a deep, dark blue, the seeming boundary between the edge of Agonis, the river controlled by the god of passage, and Nirano itself. And off on a nearby island in that endless dark water, the three of you see the figure of a returned moving towards a island cave. But as you see this, the waters directly in front of you begin to teem and bubble as you see the head of an enormous blue sea serpent break through the waves. Let's go ahead and roll some initiative.
20.
3.
Initiative 19.
Okay, up first is Disthius. You see this sea serpent erupt out of the water directly in front of you, and this figure, a far-off island, approaching a cave. What do you do?
Is there anywhere to hide?
Give me a perception check.
Okay. 13.
The water of the river itself is very dark. you think that's as good a place as any other than this barren shoreline.
Excellent. Then I am going to fog mist my way over to the water, and just as soon as I touch it, attempt to disappear beneath the water.
Hell yeah. Go ahead and roll stealth.
To 17.
Okay.
All right, so that was my bonus action, and then as an action, I'm gonna shoot at this thing with my concealed crossbow from within my sleeve. I lift up my gaunt, bony hand in this big billowing sleeve,
Hell yeah.
and it's only a 13 to hit.
That will miss. You strike this sea serpent's hide, but it appears a lot tougher than that.
All right, that is all I can do because I used my bonus action to hide.
Okay. We go on to Andromedy.
Andromedy chuckles a bit. Whichever god sees fit to test us, they should have sent a more impressive challenge. Make me a charisma save, sea serpent.
Okay.
Oh, this doesn't seem like a charismatic creature at all.
It is Nyxborn, but we'll see. Yeah, that's going to be a 15.
Not good enough.
Okay.
Return to Nyx, as I cast banishment on this creature.
Oh, God. Holy shit. It's gone.
It's gone. We must make haste. I can only hold it in the sky for a minute.
Holy crap.
Amazing.
Oh, man. Okay, so we're still in combat, but temporarily, the sea serpent is gone. That has no repeat save. It's literally just
Gone
if
for a
you
minute.
break concentration.
Correct.
Fuck.
Andy takes note to self. No more single enemy encounters against Andromedy.
I mean, for the purposes of this fucking thing, you know, I give all monsters Nyxborn anyways for advantage on magic saves, but against fucking Andromedy, I guess that doesn't matter at all. Or even God Dust.
Yeah, for real.
But anyways, okay, so that was your action.
Movement. I start heading for the riverbank. I go as far as I can.
Okay, so lasts a minute.
Lasts a minute.
So we're going to see if you can get there in 10 rounds. Probably can. Okay, so one use of movement gets you to the water's edge.
And that's what I got.
Okay, that is the sea serpent. They are banished. They are stardust. That is somebody else. Okay. Andromedy, let's see, Distheus is underwater. So, Andromedy, go ahead and give me a perception check.
13.
Okay. We go on to Estrella.
Estrella had her sword and shield drawn at the ready to protect Andromedy at all costs, but seeing the sea serpent fucking bit-bop out of this combat, she's gonna be like, okay. But Estrella being Estrella, she will devotedly follow where Andromedy's going and just head to the riverbank. I won't take any additional movement just so that I can be close to Andromedy. But that'll be my turn.
Okay. We go back to the top with Distheus.
Gonna move and dash, I guess, my full movement in the water.
Okay.
60 feet. How far are we trying to go here?
Give me a perception check.
Gladly. 9.
Okay. You can't tell too much. It's quite dark, even just below the surface. Anything else?
I'm gonna cast Water Walk.
Okay.
Spell grants the ability to move across any liquid surface, as if it were harmless solid ground. Up to 10 willing creatures you see within range gain this ability for the duration.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yes. So that's what I'm going to do with my action this turn.
Awesome.
That lasts an hour and doesn't require concentration.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Distheus, you begin swimming in the Tartix, and you remember that were you to try and cross this river naturally, you would begin to lose some of your memories, becoming a returned. Should you try and leave the underworld by swimming across the river. And so, given your history down here and all of the goings-on as an agent of the underworld, you have the perfect solution. So this entire encounter, whether it was going to be combat or merely this situational encounter, is moot.
Yeah.
Literally insane.
Jesus. That's what I get for not looking at your spell list.
Yeah, so you see Distheus, the fog that hangs around him all the time spreads out to cover a wide surface of the water as he floats up and appears to be standing on the surface.
Awesome.
And he gestures to his companions. Come across.
Very impressive, Distheus.
Thank you.
And so now we really will exit initiative because that was the only thing keeping us in, was if you could swim across in under 3 rounds or start losing your personality. But there you go. That lasts plenty of time. You can definitely cross this river in less than a minute, and you find yourselves firmly at the edge of Nirino. There is this small island ahead of you where, just before this sea serpent interrupted your travels, you had seen a figure enter a nearby cave.
Is that figure anywhere to be seen now?
Everybody roll perception. Alternatively, survival, if it's any better.
It's not. That's an 8.
They are the same. They would both be 23.
Okay.
16.
All right. Collectively, Astrea and Andromedy, you don't see any figures nearby, but you do see very clearly a set of footprints in this black sand leading towards this cave.
There. As clear a trail as any.
After you.
So we just see black sand?
So I was assuming that you had approached this island. Looking down at the sand on this island, you see, like, footprints.
Everything all right, Geppi?
Talk it out.
Why are we going to this island? I mean, aren't we looking to try and just get the fuck out of the underworld in general, like, and go through Athreos? Like, what's this?
That's what Returned do.
We saw some shady fucker.
That's a fucking distraction. Is what I'm worried about.
No. Roll insight then, Andy.
Okay, let's resolve this right now.
We can meta it. I'm sorry, we can RP it, is what I meant to say. We're meta-ing it now.
RP it, and I'll solve this problem.
What is the holdup, Astrea?
Gives you a look, and then turns back to you, Andromedy. My Oracle, I don't mean to question you, but our goal, plainly, from the first, has been to go back to Melitus. We should be securing passage with Athreos. What does this have to do with any of that? This feels terribly like a distraction, and as you said, haste is important in this matter.
Perhaps you are correct, but I have learned to follow my instinct on such matters. However, when instinct is not enough, I can trust to Clothus's guidance. I'll use my Oracle Piety to cast Augury, weal or woe, we should follow this shifty figure.
Yeah. Very clearly, this is Wheel.
The thread of fate follows that figure, and we should follow it.
Does not mind to question any further.
Distheus is already walking. He doesn't care to gloat. He's tired.
Yeah, let's go. Let's follow that trail.
Okay. You follow this trail up a small incline as you scale this beach, and you find a small cave. One you almost have to hunch over just to peer inside. But as you approach, you see stepping out from a small ruined structure nearby, Astrea, a figure you would recognize to be an Oracle of Athreos.
Hail, agents of the underworld. What is the purpose of your crossing?
Ah, Voice of Silence. We are here on behalf of, well, my good friend this Oracle, Andromedy. We seek passage with our shared god Athreos.
For what purpose?
There is a soul that has been misplaced, and we are to return it to its place here, below.
I see.
They look towards this small cave from beneath their translucent veil.
Such desperation. That is all that is left of many returned. May you serve them justice. But know this. This allowance is not freely given. You serve the underworld. Do not forget this.
Bowing her head, Astrea will say, I remain forever a steward of Athreos and the underworld at large.
And he takes a bony finger and points into the cave.
Then go. Passage granted by silence.
Distheus looks into that abyss, having been dead for a really long time, almost afraid to take the plunge. He doesn't remember what it feels like to be among the living.
Astrea will see Distheus wavering in this moment, and just with the shield strapped to her arm, shove on his back. Time waits for none of us. and she'll start walking.
What is this? I do not know how many years or ages you've been here, but many Triton are brought to Nerono when they die. I believe to drink of the water is to lose all the pain that you knew in life, and yet you have chosen not to drink, not to forget yourself. What is it you are holding on to?
Olanton, it was not supposed to end that way. There must be a way to make it right.
Andy, can I ask, would I know, was the fall of Olanton destined, or was it an instance where Heliod tried to lash out against destiny?
I listened to what Perforos said on the topic when I wrote this character.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll religion.
24.
You, yourself, Andromedy, recall the words of Perforos in this moment. And you also think back to all of the scrolls and tomes about the history of Theros and that very famous event where Heliod sinks this grand polis into the sea for failing to worship him properly in his mind. As a scholar of destiny, there are many opinions about whether this was just another act of the gods that was meant to be, or whether this was Heliod trying to push at the edges of what it means to be predestined. On a 24, all of the evidence that you understand would lead you to believe that it was the latter. That is not a question that you have personally posited to Clothis, and so this is just your scholarly understanding, if that makes sense.
I think that's enough for Andromeda to say what they're going to say. It was not meant to end that way.
How would you know?
My lady has a very long list of Heliod's transgressions against her. He shall have his last day in the sun. That has been written. Come.
Without any further hesitation, Disthius glides into the cave.
And Disthius, you might notice that after you said what you said, Estrella stopped walking, and you might clock a look of sadness on her face.
The three of you descend into this cave. It is dark and damp and winds this way and that way until you reach a point where it feels as though you're climbing upwards. And after a time, the three of you feel an odd sensation, as if the air, Andromedy, you are breathing is different, as if the touch on your skin, Disthius and Estrella, is changed. And in the distance, you see daylight. How do you proceed?
Estrella first.
By my shield.
Get your shield up front.
Yeah. Estrella's just going to walk towards the daylight into, I don't know, open field. Like, what are we seeing?
With Estrella in the lead, the three of you adjust your eyes to the bright midday sunlight.
Damn Heliod.
As you find yourselves on a rocky shore, looking out over a marvelous sight, that of the glistening polis of Melitus. The sun rising over the pristine waters, its beams catching someone in their light as they meander on the shoreline in the distance towards a rise and a tower on a cliffside above.
Disthius is going to fall to his knees and feel the sand between his fingers.
Estrella will look to Melitus and have a look of scorn on her face, knowing this is the last place she was before she was betrayed and went to the underworld. But she shakes that off and, looking to Andromedy, with the utmost haste, certainly we're on track.
Give him a moment, then we will proceed.
Disthius looks longingly out at the sea for a while, and then he picks himself up, brushes some sand off his knees, very mortal concern, and turns with a melancholy look on his face. You can see his eyes aren't quite as dead and empty as they were before, and he nods, as if to say, ready, let's go.
That figure, it's headed for the tower. We should follow.
You follow, and as you are catching up to this figure, you see it start making its way up a narrow set of stairs carved into the cliffside from its base at this beach to the top of the cliff where this tower rests.
Can we make out anything about this figure? Does it look returned?
You're still pretty far away, but that being said, go ahead and roll me perception.
Sure.
All right.
That's a nat 20.
Same.
Holy shit. Oh my god.
24.
My mod's only 2, but yeah.
14.
Yes, it is a returned. They have very deep gray skin, tattered robes cast off the top half of their body, and long, matted black hair.
Okay, yeah, just keep following.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, the three of you begin ascending these stairs. After this returned, they reach the top ahead of you, and suddenly the sun in the sky begins to rapidly brighten.
The fuck?
What do you all do?
Hiss like a vampire.
Last time I got stuck looking at the sun going up a set of stairs, it didn't go so well.
Not good.
And I had to leave the room.
Start moving a little faster, maybe?
Okay.
That's a great idea. Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're hoofing it.
Yeah.
All right. Your pace quickens as you lose sight momentarily of this return that you were following. But soon enough, you reach the top of these stairs, and not too far off at the base of this tower, you see them stretch their arms up wide into the sky.
God.
As this tower, Andromedy and Estrella, you now recognizing this as the Pyrgnos, is consumed by a radiant beam from the sun, like a pillar of white fire, as this figure looks on. And in the sky appearing, Heliod says, "My newest, greatest champion, if the people of Theros refuse to recognize me as the true king of the gods, then together we will erase their very knowledge of any others but me." As the Pyrgnos bursts into white-hot fire. You immediately see, on the other side of Meletis, in the sky, appearing Ifara, Thassa, but very quickly after that, behind you, as if breaking the boundary between the surface and the underworld below. Erebos, not as a mortal figure, but fully clad in starlight, rises with portals being rent into existence as arms outstretched. He sends throngs of dead and demons in his wake towards Heliod.
What the fuck? What are we even doing here? This shit's insane.
Great.
Finally, Andromedy, you look at all of this, and much like she appeared, towering over Akros, Clothis strikes out in a thunderous voice. "Let loose this furious rise, and hearken unto war between the gods, for the destiny of Theros shall no longer be broken by you!" And points towards Heliod. And that's where we're gonna end this session.
Jesus.
Yeah, fuck.
Wow.
What the fuck, actually, though? Holy shit.
Sure there isn't any more major lore things you want to get into this episode?
I'm sure.
You don't want to pop the other 6 gods that aren't included in this kaiju fight to end all kaiju fights?
It's the start of the War of the Gods, you know? You gotta do it right.
Insane.
Wow.
Ta-da!
Well, that was a character I wasn't expecting to have to pull out again on extremely short notice.
Oh, you had like 36 hours.
What?
36 seconds, more like.
Yeah, what are you doing? Jimmy and I had like 6 days.
Yeah.
But it is good to see Andromedy again, though.
Absolutely. And we'll see what happens there. Pods of the Multiverse is produced by Jimmy Affatigato and edited by Scala, with music by Andy Berger, that's me, and art by Alexa Reilly. Thanks to our Patreon supporters, and a special thanks to our Holy Avengers, May, Jake, Chris, and John. For $5 a month on Patreon, you can access every episode of Table Talk, our weekly variety show produced by Geppi.
Thanks for listening.